How to win in a seller's market. And yes, it's back at certain price points. It's back.
Coming up next on Real Estate Dirt.
So how to win in a seller's market. Yes, oh my gosh. In the Chicagoland area.
The madness has returned.
And at least certain price points that we're trying to pin down, I'd say under 450 for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Anything in the 2s and 300s like condos, townhomes, things like that, flying. So a big first-time home buyer market for sure. So how are you going to win? Here we are. Now you might think to yourself, do you want to win? Well, it's the difference of owning or not owning. And rents are through the roof. You could be putting, on the lower end, $24,000, $30,000 in rent versus money down, even at a higher interest rate.
It's still better to own.
Yes. Rent is out of control, frankly. Rent is out of control at this point. We could get into a whole thing about whether or not they're trying to push more people into being stuck being a renter for eternity.
It's possible.
Which, if you Google that, you'll see some of that. And it could be a thing. Certainly looking like it. There's a lot of data stacking up that Wall Street and others are buying up properties so they can rent them, not sell them. And the rents are going through the roof. And then you'll be stuck because you'll never be able to save for your down payment. So I think the next couple of years, just in case that's true, you should buy.
We want to help you buy.
Yes.
So we're going to give you some things that we think can give you a little bit of a boost. How about that?
In a seller's market. Beyond cash. So number one, usually cash is king. Not always. You can be out of cash because sometimes cash offers come in and they lowball because they're cash.
Right.
And why is cash king? You should understand this to help you in a negotiation, when it comes to your negotiation strategy to win the house in a multiple offer situation. It does not require an appraisal, which any lender that you're pre-approved with any bank will want to make sure before they give you all that money that the house is worth what you're paying for it. So it eliminates an appraisal and it can usually close quicker and more securely. So usually you can close in about 3 weeks instead of maybe 30, 45 days with a traditional lender.
Yeah, somebody paying cash could still have an appraisal if they wanted to pay separately for one, but the deal is not contingent upon the property appraising for what the purchase price is.
Yeah, and the person could also negotiate that in that they want an appraisal, but kind of hurts their offer. Beyond cash, let's get into it. What are the top things you can do to make your offer more attractive than, say, a good cash offer? Well, one, you can be flexible on the closing date. Sellers will like that. You can also, to piggyback off that, you can let the seller lease back from you, which means that you buy the property, but then you give them more time to rent from you while they find something else. So this is a good avenue if you have the ability to do it. The only thing that is not favorable, and here in the metro area, we use attorneys. Attorneys don't like you becoming a landlord because landlord-tenant law usually falls to the tenant.
Correct.
So they don't like it. So that's the risk on the back end. But flexible close, right?
Yeah, if you've got somebody who has to sell in order to buy, they're almost in the same boat as you, the buyer. Everybody, there's a shortage of inventory. So if you can give the seller more time to find what property they need to find, then that could help boost your chances of getting the property.
Next one is what we call escalation riders. Riders being RIDERS. It's basically an addendum, it's a rider to a contract, but I'm going too far. Can you cut this out?
It's basically just...
I went down the rabbit hole instead of making it concise.
It's basically just an agreement between you and the seller, if they choose you, that you will beat any other offer by a certain amount of money. That's typically what they do.
So as an example, a lot of times when we used to do, people in a multiple offer typically ask for your highest and best, so you get one shot. And in past years, early on, we used to all pick your top number and see if it wins. So you'd be pulling a number out of the air on what you were willing to spend. But there was always a little part of you that felt like, what if somebody else was like 50 grand less than me or 20 grand, whatever the number is? Like, you don't want to have to overbid more than you have to, but the sellers aren't going to give away their position and tell you what they've got because they could potentially get more from you. So from a negotiation standpoint, you're really just picking a number out of the sky based on what you can afford. In an escalation rider, I'll say something like, I'll beat any other offer by $2,000 or $5,000 up to a maximum purchase price of X. So what that really means is you're only going to beat the next highest offer by whatever increment, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the case may be. That way, you don't have to just pull a random number out of the sky, and you still get the house.
And for those of you who are already wondering to yourself, yes, they do have to show you proof that they received another offer that was that high.
Yes, we require it within 24 hours. We do here. Now, what has been happening lately is people are using those escalation clauses, but if it is not coupled with a appraisal gap coverage, it's not holding much water. And what is an appraisal gap coverage?
It's when the house appraises for less than your offer, and you agree that even though the house is appraising for less, you will bring additional cash to the closing to make up the difference.
Right? So if people are bidding the house up, which is going to be the new market value, and the data in the market doesn't support that, or it's a little shy, there's some room for going up. I mean, how do values ever go up, right? But that you'll cover it. So part of your down payment may go toward that coverage should that happen. But the seller likes that guarantee. So
oh yeah,
an escalation without a gap coverage right now is almost necessary in our market.
Because it's very common. We have some people that are not what we consider to be a strong buyer, meaning they're just barely putting enough down payment just to barely get into the house. And then they'll shoot some astronomical offer over where it's so ridiculously high, they know it's never going to appraise that high. And they're just in the hopes that the seller will start to see dollar signs and pick their offer over somebody else who can bring that cash to closing. So
yeah, but if you have a smart agent on your side as the seller, they're going to tell you you're never going to appraise and what the risks are of that. Next thing, and this one's a little bit rogue, is we have had, at least in the craziness, I haven't seen it come back quite yet, but buyers offering a seller bonus of money on the back end. I mean, it's, yeah.
This is new. It's
not new. It's just not happening quite yet. But it's almost like a seller bonus for taking their offer at closing. It's disclosed. It's all legal. But it's like, hey, if you pick my offer, I'll give you $2,000 extra at close. Believe it or not. I can't believe it. And it's wonky how we put it on the final settlement statement. But it's legal. And the buyer's basically giving you more purchase price. Basically.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we don't, at least I haven't seen this too often. I know you've dealt with it a little bit more than me. That would be my first question. Why wouldn't you just add a couple?
Because then you're adding to appraisal.
Oh.
So if you give a seller bonus on the back end, it's not part of the purchase price. It's part of closing costs maybe. You can say seller bonus for closing costs or just a seller bonus. And yeah, the buyer can give them money. And it doesn't have to be part of the purchase price.
Once in a while, there's something that Nicole knows just a skosh more than me. This is one of them.
Another one you can do is take the house as is when it comes to inspection. Now, the as is clause does not mean you don't have an inspection. You still have an inspection. You're just saying you won't ask for anything. I always say you won't ask for anything unless it's super serious, because super serious is going to have to be fixed no matter what once it's announced, right? But as is means you're not going to nickel and dime them on inspection. But the other side of it is some people are, and we just had it happen last week, we lost out because somebody waived inspection. That means they're not even going to have one at all. It is hard for me to tell somebody not to have an inspection. It's really hard.
It's hard for both of us.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean like it wasn't for our team in general, but actually I think anybody at our brokerage. It's hard to say, don't know what you're, to not get an inspection, know what you're getting. Very hard for me. I'd rather pay extra than not have an inspection for sure.
I mean, if you're a contractor and you know going in that you're going to gut the property and you have all the qualifications and skill set and money to do what you need to do there regardless of condition, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if this is your first home and I mean, it would have to be some sort of extreme,
Circumstance.
yeah.
So not a fan of it, but it's happening, so we have to share it out loud. So those are some of the top ways that you can make your offer more attractive. And of course, you need to really take the guidance of your real estate professional, your experienced real estate professional. They can guide you to what you're seeing in the market.
The best way to make your offer more attractive is to submit it with Team Tudisco.
And let me add one bonus tip. If you have a lender, let's say we have our preferred lender, and we always have her call the seller's agent to reinforce the strength of the buyer and her skill set and her knowledge to make sure the deal gets done. So as a bonus tip, always have your lender reach out to the seller's agent.
That's a great tip.
So if you like this, like and subscribe. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you win the next
Like and
bid.
subscribe.
And we will see you next time on Real Estate Dirt.
Peace. How you feeling?
You talk to me and I'm tired.
So if I talk to you instantaneously, you feel like you have to yawn?
Yes.
This is probably not a good development in our marriage.
Yep, you exhaust me. What else?
Hang on.
Stop it. You're just trying to make now.
Cut it out.
Power of suggestion.
Come on.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Can we get to this? All right.
Are you ready?
Hey, no, I'm trying to get through these things with you.
Sorry.
Stop trying to make funny.
I'm not. Jeez. Wow.